The old saying goes, 2 heads are better than 1. But in the animal kingdom, that's pretty much never the case. Not only are conjoined twins rare, they almost never survive. Almost. Jacob Kittilstad doubles down on the story this Mystery Monday.
$200.
You know, and everything is in a particular different state.
That's about how many deer Glenn Gossett mounts every year out of his shop, Buck Fever Taxidermy.
And I'll be honest, I have been lured into other stuff by the lure of money, but I always come back what I was born to do.
Fish, bears, birds, a squirrel riding a rabbit. Glenn's pretty much done it all.
The question would rather be, what haven't I worked on?
Well, what about something like this? He's worked on cows before, mounting steer heads mostly, but before this summer, he'd never seen anything like the calf dropped off by Alcorn State University.
It's just, you know, everybody's just like, wow, you know, I mean, what else can you say about it? She told me she had a 2-headed calf, and they were looking to get it life-size mounted. Wanted to know if I could do it. Instantly got my curiosity, because that is one of the things I have not seen. 4 years.
Alcorn researchers say it didn't really have a chance. 2 heads come with other genetic defects, but that doesn't mean other species haven't unlocked.
I usually have my stool out here because I'm a little short.
The slithery secrets to sustainable, sequential skulls.
The 2-headed snake we have right here is 11 years old.
However, John Hardy has a disclaimer. He's the aquarist at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. He says the only reason this rat snake has lived this long is
probably because it is in captivity. Animals like this would have a lot of trouble in the wild, especially trying to feed.
Only one head needs to eat. There's only one stomach, but the people at the museum say they feed each head individually. And the reason is this: how would you feel if your brother was given an all-you-could-eat buffet every single day while you had to watch eating nothing?
The right head is more responsive. It can control the body. The story I've heard is that we had a young girl, and she prevented her father from chopping the heads off. And as far as I can tell, maybe the oldest 2-headed snake in captivity. And as you can see, has a pretty good temperament.
Probably gonna grow some folks out here.
But a cow's a completely different animal with a whole different set of problems.
Looking at the skull itself, it had a lot of fractures, so apparently they had to pull the calf because the mother couldn't have it. 42 inches. I'm probably gonna have to make the body from scratch, which is going to be kind of a lengthy process.
That said, Glenn enjoys doing these tricky projects. And for this case, he'll probably have to use double the brain power.
It's a challenge. I love it.
Exploring the unexplained this Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
That's our Jacob. The 2-headed calf came from a farm in Natchez. Its owner donated it to Alcorn State. The project is expected to be completed at the latest by the end of next month. Wrapped in linen, dried in the heat of the desert, perfectly preserved mummies are often the highlight in a trip to the museum.
That's right, but while everyone knows about King Tut, it's Mississippi's that's owner to another infamous figure. Jacob Kittilstad traces the tracks of the unlikely item this Mystery Monday.
Construction just off Capitol Street might remind you of an archaeological dig just before entering the old Capitol Museum. And beneath its giant rotunda, a small wooden sarcophagus greets incoming visitors. Vacant eyes above a sleepy smile stare out of a window in its door. And it certainly begs the question, what does a mummy even have to do with the state of Mississippi?
You know, when you go to the state fair, there's all the rides and agricultural displays, plus the oddities that you see down there, and we think it just is so fitting for us to bring out the mummy every year.
Clay Williams is director of the Old Capitol Museum. He says the state's owned the mummy far longer than he's been alive.
The mummy was donated to the Department of Archives and History in the 1920s, and was thought to be a 5,000-year-old Egyptian princess. And it used to be a very, popular thing for people to see. Yeah, you see the teeth there, the shape of the head, the rib cage. People would go to church on Sundays, and then after church go to the state capitol just to see the mummy.
And one of the people who saw it, a young student at UMC,
let's see, I would have been 21.
well, he was allowed to get up close and personal. We phoned Dr. Gentry Yateman. He signed this paperwork. He grew up in Starkville, but now lives in Washington State. He's a retired pediatrician, but back in 1967, he studied paleopathology, and he offered to do an autopsy on the mummy.
But first of all, she assured me that it had been examined by the state archaeologist and claimed a young maiden approaching maturity, and that it was definitely real. Did x-rays and immediately saw the wooden frame.
Obviously, a mummy would not contain the nails. It was a dummy mummy full of paper mache, newspapers, nails, boards, you name it. It was fake.
We found the Milwaukee Journal from 1898, and we found some German newsprint.
The museum's director at the time of the discovery took the news well. She wrote an editorial using the term dummy mummy, and it stuck. Now museum workers bring it out every year around Halloween and the state fair. After all, the mummy hoax is suspected of being started for a sideshow at another fair somewhere around Wisconsin.
There are still visitors who come to visit who still don't know it's fake, and they have to come in here and read our text panel and see the copies of the x-rays, and then they kind of see it's fake and they never knew.
Exploring the unexplained this Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
Now it's explained. There are no human bones in the dummy mummy. However, Dr. Gentry says 7 unidentified animal ribs were used to put together the rib cage.
Welcome back, everyone. There are plenty of historic mansions in Mississippi, but at a tiny home in Vicksburg, not only is there a lot of history, but also stories of a haunting. Jacob Kittilstad visits the home with a spirited past and present for this week's Mystery Monday.
Well, this is Alexander Gallatin McNutt.
Painted eyes of a past homeowner keep watch of the current ones.
And lived here until 1838 when he became governor for the state of Mississippi. He was the 12th governor.
Elvin McFerrin and his wife own the McNutt House. Its story, however, has something of a life of its own.
And apparently, if you own a historic piece of property, you're expected to know something about its heritage. And we found that he had a couple of brothers that wound up following in his footsteps. The second brother that arrives, he's got a family. He has a daughter by the name of Margaret, and she died of yellow fever here.
To my right, over by the garbage can, I heard like a little girl's voice. I could not make out what it was.
Pam McFerrin was hearing things, creepy things, going along with the stories about an old Montessori school once near her backyard and its school kids playing with a ghost.
It's been told to us as it's just a little girl in a blue dress. We've never really had any adults have this experience with her, and it's always children, and they tend to be around the age of 6.
Yeah, they always played down in this lower corner area down here behind the tree. That's the area where they like to play.
And the owners say it's almost as though children are attracted to this area, the place where sightings of the ghost, that story, is most common.
But the most intense believed encounters have happened indoors.
The chapel, what Maggie's Hall, was always the most active. And I happened to be in there one day, and we had all the doors open. All the doors, 3 doors, all slammed, bam, bam, bam. From that point on, I was kind of like, okay, I really don't want to be in here.
She's had a number of experiences where the only experiences I've ever had is put a tool down and I go to pick it back up and it's gone. But I know I've had that problem for decades.
But like my niece, she heard us talking about it, and she said, she told us, oh yeah, I talked to her, her name's Maggie. And of course, at 6 years old, she was gone.
I thought it was a tremendous coincidence, but my wife thinks there's a little bit more to it than that.
That's what he calls us balanced. The more I lean towards, the more he leans towards there's not a ghost, the more I lean towards, yeah, there's something here.
In Warren County, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
The McNutt House is open for tours daily. Just call ahead. We'll put that information on our website, WJTV.com.